Hello everyone, have a good day. Perhaps in life, everyone has a very special first trip. For Tuna, it was the first time she brought her little son, who was only 5 months old, to meet her grandmother. A trip that seemed simple, but contained so many sacred emotions. The cry, the smile, the baby's tiny hands touching her grandmother's arms for the first time, all reminded her of childhood memories, of the days when she was also cared for and comforted by her grandmother. That moment was not only the meeting of two generations, but also the extension of family love, a bridge between the past and the present. How emotional will Grandma be when she holds her first grandchild in her arms? And will this small journey bring Tuna and her family unforgettable memories? Let's follow and feel the love in this unexpected but warm trip. Early morning, the first rays of sunlight gently filtered through the curtains, shining down on the small room. Tuna sat quietly by the baby's crib, her eyes watching Henry, her little boy who was just 5 months old, sleeping soundly. In that quiet moment, nostalgia flooded back. Tuna felt like she was back in her childhood, when she also lay in her mother's arms, listening to the soft lullaby lulling her to sleep. She remembered her thin but warm hands, remembered her mother's figure bent over the fire, remembered the faint smell of burnt rice in the rainy afternoon. The longing for her mother grew, both intense and tormenting, but Tuna could only keep it hidden in her heart. But suddenly, a knock sounded on the door. Tuna startled and looked up. The door opened, and before her eyes was Joni, her brother, with a steady appearance and a familiar gentle smile. At that moment, the space seemed to light up. He was stunned. The Tuna of the past, the little girl who ran after him, her eyes clear and her smile crisp, was no longer there. In front of Joni was a woman with a pale, tired face, her thin shoulders tightly holding 5-month-old Henry. Her hair was messy. Her eyes were a mixture of fatigue and a strong effort not to collapse. The contrast between childhood memories and harsh reality made him dizzy. He felt like a part of his childhood was crumbling before his eyes. This image made Joni choke with sorrow. One day, the two brothers still sat by the fire, sharing a baked potato in the cold winter. He had promised her, "With me here, no one can bully you." But now, Tuna was struggling with life alone, abandoned by her husband's family, carrying a small child and living alone in a desolate house. The promise from years ago suddenly became a wound in his heart, making him constantly blame himself. Regret flooded back, tormenting his heart. Joni felt guilty for leaving Tuna to suffer this alone. He was busy with work, busy pursuing his own plans, thinking that his sister had a complete home. But who would have thought that home would fall apart, leaving both mother and child in dire straits? Joni's hug for his sister at this moment not only contained love, but also a belated, trembling, but sincere apology. He hugged Tuna tightly, as if to make up for all the days she had to endure alone, and softly said, "I'm back, Tuna. From now on, you are no longer alone." Joni's eyes lit up with determination. Blood and flesh will never leave each other. Even if the whole world turns its back, he will still be the shoulder, the last support, for Tuna and baby Henry. As for Tuna, the moment she saw Joni standing in front of the door, her heart suddenly shook. A familiar figure from her childhood appeared. It was the brother she had always longed for. At that moment, she felt like she had returned to a warm memory. A feeling of security suddenly surged up. Tuna was surprised and burst into tears. Tears poured down like rain, carrying all the humiliation and pain that had been pent up for months. She felt sorry for herself and for Henry, the innocent child who had not yet enjoyed his father's embrace and had to live without love. In Joni's embrace, all her efforts to appear strong suddenly collapsed. She choked up and exclaimed, "I thought no one remembered me and my mother anymore." Joni hugged her thin shoulders tightly, letting his sister cry. He understood that those tears were not only pain, but also liberation. Tuna softly confessed, "Honey, I miss my mother so much. I really miss her. But since Henry was born, I haven't brought him home. He's still young. I'm afraid he can't handle the long journey, and so I kept putting it off. Every night when I hold him, I see my mother's image appear. I feel guilty for making her wait so long. At this point, her voice choked up. Her eyes filled with tears. Joni was silent for a few seconds. Looking straight into his sister's red eyes, he walked over, put his hand on Tana's shoulder, and said in a warm voice, "Tana, don't blame yourself like that. You just gave birth. Of course, everything is difficult. Taking care of a child is not easy, and you're shouldering almost everything by yourself, Mom, and I understand that. She will never blame you. You have to believe that she only wants her daughter to be healthy, happy, and Henry to grow up safely. That's already a priceless gift." He paused for a moment, then continued, "I know you are a wonderful mother. Looking at Henry healthy and obedient, I clearly see how much you have sacrificed. There are worries, sleepless nights. Maybe you think no one understands, but I understand, and Mom has also gone through days like that. So, don't consider it a mistake. It is proof of your love for your child, and that love, Mom will feel it as soon as she holds her grandchild in her arms." Hearing the words of comfort, Tana's heart trembled. Tears fell, but not as heavy as before, but became lighter. Joni continued, his voice calm. Joni continued, his voice firm but full of love. "I will take you and Henry home. You don't have to go alone. On this journey, you have me, you have your family. Don't be afraid. Don't think you're alone. We'll go home together to see Mom. You'll see." Mom's arms are still open as ever. Tana looked up, her eyes filled with tears, but sparkling. The heaviness that had accumulated for so long seemed to be released. She nodded, smiling slightly. "Brother, thank you. I really want to go home. I don't want Mom to have to wait anymore." Without hesitation, Joni took the motorbike to the front of the alley. Tana held Henry in her arms, carefully wrapping the child in a towel. The sound of the engine echoed, blending with the chirping of birds in the early morning. The motorbike slowly stopped in front of the old wooden gate, which had imprinted many childhood memories of Tana. That gate, over the years, still stood there, covered in moss, as sturdy as a mother's love for her children. The sound of the engine just stopped. The whole space fell into silence. Only the sound of the wind blowing gently through the banana garden behind the house, and the chirping of sparrows on the porch tart. Tana hugged Henry tightly in her arms, her hands trembling with excitement. For the past 4 months, every night she held her child to sleep. In her dreams she saw herself returning to this house, and now, that dream had come true. She looked up, her eyes blurred when she saw a familiar figure, a thin woman, her hair whiter than before, standing on the porch, her 2 hands trembling as she held onto the door. "Tana, is that you?" Her voice rang out, trembling, as if she couldn't believe her eyes. At that moment, Tana's heart clenched. She hurriedly walked away, tears welling up in her eyes. "Mom, I'm here, I'm home." A choked call came out, bringing with it all the longing that had been pent up for months. The mother and daughter rushed into each other's arms. Tana buried her face in her mother's thin, familiar shoulder. The faint smell of kitchen smoke, the smell of old sweat-soaked clothes, made her heart burst. Years of hardship, long nights of sleepless nights taking care of her little child suddenly flooded back into her memory. She burst into tears like a child, crying to satisfy her longing, crying to release the torment in her heart. "Mom, I'm sorry. I was so busy taking care of Henry. I didn't bring you home to see me. I know you've been waiting. You've been waiting every day, but Tana's voice broke. The mother just shook her head slightly, hugging her daughter tightly in her thin but extremely warm arms. "I'm happy that you're back. I don't blame you. I know my daughter has worked hard. Looking at you like this, I feel sorry for you. How can I blame you?" Henry was now moving slightly in the small cradle that Tana had brought with him. Hearing his grandchild's wailing, his grandmother immediately turned around. Her eyes lit up, her whole face beaming. Her hands were trembling but full of longing. She reached out. "Let me hold you. Tana, let me hold him for a little while." Tana gently placed Henry in her mother's arms. At that moment, her eyes sparkled. The deep wrinkles seemed to stretch out. She held Henry close to her chest, kissed his forehead, tears falling down. "Oh my God, my grandchild, he looks so much like you when you were little. Tuna, this forehead, this nose, exactly the same. I've been waiting for this day for so long. Today, my dream has come true." Henry gently opened his eyes, looked up at his grandmother's face, then dozed off again. That image made both Tuna and Joni quiet down. Tuna felt like a child again, as if she was standing watching her mother hug her old self. Grandmother softly lulled her to sleep, her voice trembling but full of warmth. "Oh my, sleep well, Grandma is here." That lullaby, which Tuna had not heard for many years, now resounded like a sweet stream watering her soul. Tuna stood there, tears falling continuously, but her lips curved into a smile. She knew that only her mother's arms could bring her such peace. And now, Henry, her son, was also receiving that unconditional love. There was no more distance, no more torment. All that remained was the reunion, the bond of 3 generations in the arms of love.